Start once we're good with our streaming. We're good. Okay. Welcome to Murray City Budget and Finance Committee meeting for fiscal year 2022. Councilmember Rosalba Dominguez is excused. Everyone else is present. This meeting will occur electronically without an anchor location in accordance with Utah Code 52-4-207, Rule 4, due to infectious disease COVID-19 novel coronavirus. The council chair has determined that conducting a meeting with an anchor location presents substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location because physical distancing measures may be difficult to maintain in the Murray City Council chambers. Today, the City Council is reviewing the mayor's tentative budget for fiscal year 2022 with our department directors. To any public that may be joining us today, if you'd like to follow along, the complete budget can be found on the city website, murray.utah.gov. Just hover over Government, then click on Budget and Finance Committee, and then View All under Agendas and Minutes, and you can find our information there. I want to sincerely thank the Mayor's Office, the Budget Officer, and all department directors for the extensive hours of work and planning that have gone into the budget thus far. In 2021, out of an abundance of caution, the Council asked departments to make difficult cuts and to pause projects while we waited to see how deeply Murray's economy would be impacted by COVID-19. It was a time of great anxiety, and we did the best we could as we sifted through the economics of a once-in-a-generation pandemic. The previous chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, Diane Turner, stated at our budget meeting last year that our primary goal was that we wouldn't have to cut a single city employee's job due to the coronavirus. In a budget where over 70% of expenses go to personnel, this was no small goal. A year later, I'm proud to say we were successful. While many neighboring cities suffered painful layoffs, Murray didn't lay off a single employee. We thank our employees for providing outstanding service to both residents and businesses in our community. We know last year was difficult with fewer resources and ever-changing work responsibilities. We're incredibly grateful you stuck with us. Thank you. The impact of COVID-19 on our city has been significant, but with over 870,000 doses of the vaccine administered, and our economy is getting stronger every day. Thanks to the CARES Act funds rebounding tax revenues, as well as the millions we anticipate in receiving from the American Rescue Plan, Murray is on a far steadier ground this year. Though I think it's important to mention that without the federal COVID recovery funds, we would surely be discussing a property tax increase today. I'm grateful that due to the American Rescue Plan, we are able to hold off raising property taxes another year. I'm grateful we can spare residents this extra financial burden as we recover from the financial difficulties of 2020. The City Council and the public have had an opportunity to review and study the mayor's budget, and today the Budget and Finance Committee welcomes questions and concerns from council members and looks forward to hearing from each department head. We value you and your work, and we appreciate you sharing your time and expertise with us today. So with that, we will begin, and we start out with the fabulous Brenda Moore.
Okay. Hopefully you can hear me all right with the microphone. And thank you for your consideration and the time you are taking to go through this budget with all the department heads. As you know, this budget sets the direction for the city for the upcoming fiscal year starting on July 1. So to our budget document, this year we had revised the Murray City Mission, Vision, and Values Statement and became a member of the Utah Compact on Racial Equality and Diversity and Inclusion. So I included those pages at the very first, page 1 and 2 of the budget document. Hopefully, as we put together this budget, we always kind of think of how do we make it so that everything is as equitable as it can be, which means that we base where we're going to do the street projects on which street is worse, not which neighborhood it is in, and all of those appropriate scientific things. So that's the start of that. Also in the budget document is the budget analysis, summary and analysis that starts on page 5. I think I'll just start with a quick overview of how we came about putting together this budget. The last part of January, I send out worksheets to all the department heads concerning their personnel, a personnel questionnaire asking them if they need more people, what their overtime level they think what they will need for fiscal year 22. And if you need personnel adjustments, if you need more part-time salaries because the wages you need to pay people are going up, and they respond to those questions. As part of that, HR also goes through and looks at our pay ranges and makes sure that they are competitive with other cities our size and even some private industry based on what the jobs are. As part of that process, we found 13 pay ranges which were more than 5% below market. And this budget includes bringing those 13 people to within 5% of the market. We don't bring them to 100% because tomorrow the market is going to change, so we bring them within 5% of the market. The pay differences ranged in scale from $279 per year for one person to up to $6,600 for a different person, just depending on what market has done for their job range. All of those are included in the budget, and I think the total cost was around $35,000. The other thing this budget for personnel contains is a 3% COLA, which was based on the Western states average. It's a little lower than what had happened between the last time we gave a COLA and this one, but I think at 3% it is affordable for us to be able to do this year and to help thank the employees for their hard work during the pandemic. We have also included in here the step increases for the I think there's 400 eligible positions for those. 162 employees were eligible for a 2.5% increase, and then we also have 87 employees that are going to get a 5% increase. The less time you've been with the city, the higher the percentage is, you get the 5% increase. Those are also always dependent on appropriate employee evaluations. If you're not doing your job, you're not going to get the increase, but if you are, you will get the increase. So that's how we put the personnel budget together. All of the budget that you will see on all of these pages include the step increases, the step adjustments we did, overtime, the standby pay that we pay, and all of the various specialty type things, the Christmas bonus and the sick leave payout that we provide. We have added 3 new positions, and the different department heads will talk about those, and adjusted 4 positions to slightly different things that they are doing. So for operations, we also send out a questionnaire, and we open up the budget and have the department heads or their designated person fill in how much they would like on each line item. The request was that they leave their budget as much the same as possible. There are some things that do increase that we don't have control of, and that they restore their activities, especially for travel and training, and that was the main one that we cut last year, and the other items back to what they feel they will need as if the pandemic isn't happening in fiscal 22. So you will see some big percentage increases budget year to budget year for travel, learning, and some of the things that had stopped happening, those budgets will be brought back up to pre-pandemic levels, what I call it, or fiscal year 19 levels. So then it comes to how I budget revenue. Let me get to our revenue page and then share my screen. So we are going to page 15 in the book. share that. Share. Okay. So on page 15, this revenue section, what I did, is I looked at every revenue category for taxes, taxes, the property tax, services, charges for services, and compared multiple years. You can't just compare last year because things are a little bit different. The budget here says that for local sales tax, I've got a 25% increase in budget. That is true compared to last year where we cut the budget down immensely. It has gone up. What I actually budgeted on both local option and transportation tax is a 1% increase over what I feel we're going to finish 2021 at. Sales tax revenues are coming in very well. They are not increasing like some cities have, but they are also not losing. So that is where I come up with those sales tax numbers. Property tax, we budget at the same level as last year due to truth in taxation. That is the level of property tax we should receive based on what we received last year. We will get some growth. I won't know what that is until probably the day that we approve this budget, and we will increase the property tax revenue and put the offsetting income as non-departmental expense that we can use at a later date when we determine, if we determine things need to use that particular budget item. So other taxes and fees, I conservatively look at what's actually happening, and if you notice, I actually decreased that budget. There are some fees that we are not collecting or taxes that we're not collecting at the rate we used to. One of those is communications, and so I decreased the budget even a little bit more than last year's. Charges for services, I decreased that budget. We are not selling park memberships at the rate we were before, along with, I'm not sure that all of the revenue that the senior rec center was doing or come back, so I've conservatively budgeted that line item. Class C road funds are going to be about 1% more than the current year, and the other fines and forfeitures have been down. I budgeted those slightly less than what we collected in fiscal year 19-20. The one thing that is a highlight, it's not a big amount, but I am anticipating that we will get a UIA dividend this year that will help offset the UIA bond payment that we pay. So it's $78,620. We did receive one in fiscal year 21, and they have it in their budget to do one in fiscal year 22.
Brenda,
their revenue.
that was for the operations expense that we funded back for you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That is a repayment of the amounts that we funded. I don't know how many years ago it was.
Right.
It was
Blair, you remember what?
6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if that was it, but I know they were going to do half and half. So
They did half and half, and so they've given us this dividend to repay those
That's
OpEx
awesome.
expenses. is what
Thank
they
you.
call it.
Okay, that was my question. I wasn't sure what the UIA is.
Yeah, that's the Utopia UIA.
Gotcha.
I should have
Yeah.
probably put Utopia also on that line. But UIA is the entity that is sending it to us.
Yeah, that's great.
We have budgeted the transfers in coming from our enterprise funds, power, water, and wastewater at the 8% of their operating revenue, just as normal years. And the increase you can see in that line item is due to some revenue increases, and then just some thoughts on climate and how their revenues may increase due to it being hotter and drier. And that trend seems to be consistent right now. So overall, in the general fund, Personnel has gone up 4.8%. That includes the 6% increase in insurance premiums. Operations have dropped 4%. Some of that 4% drop is actually due to no longer having the CARES money there, but and the CARES expenses that we had last year. But operations have stayed pretty much consistent and overall. City debt, those are just the debt payments. Just as in summary, we are projecting to use reserves this year to balance the budget. We're projecting to use $2.7 million to balance the budget. Last year, we had projected that we were going to use $3.7 million to balance the budget. And right now, my best estimate is that we are actually going to gain $2.9 million in reserves. So a lot of that is due to the CARES, and a lot of it is due to sales tax revenue not dropping as we had anticipated. So we're basically using this year's fiscal year 21's reserve buildup to pay for the budget shortage in fiscal year 22. This, I know, it's one-time money that we're using for ongoing projects. It is not sustainable. And in the next year, if nothing changes, we will be discussing, when I'm sitting here in front of you next year, we will be discussing a property tax increase to keep us up with inflation. Hopefully, we've got a lot of development out there. Hopefully, a lot of it will come online and we can do a very small property tax increase, but there is no, and I'm hoping to keep it a small property tax increase, as the citizens had requested the last time we did that 40-something%. Do a lot of small ones instead of one great big one. So
It's interesting. I'm hearing you talk about all these numbers. Just yesterday, I had a younger person say to me, "You guys have it. But you have to budget. You have to." I said, "Well, yeah." And as serious as can be, he says, "Well, the federal government doesn't." And he was really, so he says, "I'm surprised you guys have to do that. I didn't think people had to do that anymore, government." And I said, "Yes, we're required."
So that is the use of our reserves. Discussed revenue. I thought I would jump down and talk about non-departmental expenses, what's in there, because nobody else is responsible for that. That is on page 66. Oh, actually, let's see, on the PDF, it's 3 pages more. So on our non-departmental expense, this is where we take expenses that don't really belong to like finance or the attorney's office or the mayor's office, and it's just kind of a citywide, this is what we're going to do in the general fund, but no department, and it also doesn't really apply to sending the fee or the portion to the enterprise funds. So in here we have the miscellaneous expense I have dropped down, and that's probably where I will put the property tax increase or the property tax gain that will happen due to just new growth that comes in.
Brenda, what's the page number? I missed that.
It's on page, it's got its own tab, and it's on page 66. It's right after,
Got it. Thank you.
okay. So this is the area where we have our annual Utah League of Cities and Towns contribution, the Boys and Girls Club contribution, which are all in the addendum, the Miss Murray stipend, the Youth Chamber contribution, the Chamber of Commerce. We have some rental and lease payments. We left all of these amounts basically the same as last year.
Hey, Brenda,
Yes.
I'm looking at the youth chamber, and I would like to recommend that we raise that from 25 to 3,000, raise it $500. They do great work, And I think anything we can do to support them is well worth our time and effort.
Okay. Is-
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm hearing a baby.
you-
No, they want the money for the youth chamber. They're mad it's only 500.
Yeah, they're probably not happy they're getting a passport.
That would bring them to
3,000.
3,000? I'm good with
Bring
that.
them to 3,000, okay. We will talk about that on Friday and just make sure that everybody's in
reconciliation.
agreement, and then I can make that adjustment. That's definitely not a material effect on the budget.
Thank you.
For transfers out, which is or debt service, which is page 68. Just so you're aware, I have budgeted the payoff of the fiscal year 2009 A bonds a year early. It's basically a $150,000 payment that I will make in August as opposed to waiting until April of 2022. It will save us approximately $13,000 in interest. We got to make it anyway, so we might as well just get it done, get it off the books, and collect interest on our, and save that $13,000. That interest is at 4%. And we are currently making 0.5% on our money, so we might as well make up that difference. I wish interest rates were higher now that we have done all our bonding for the next few years, but they're not. This is also where Utopia and our bond interest is. So I think the city will be down to the fire station bond for the Fire Station 82, and then we have one other, and then the City Hall bond. So our debt service is very low. Transfers out, which is on, all of the details of all the various bonds are on the pages following there of what's left. Transfers out, we have budgeted in here 1.625 to go into the capital projects funds for the transportation projects. Those are the tax that we collect that have to be used for streets projects, and that will be moved into the capital projects fund. And 3.6 to fund our normal CIP schedules, which is that 0.2 tax is basically what we send over there. We are sending $60,000 to the Murray Parkway Fund to help subsidize their operations. They are still have a negative fund balance, and until we can get their fund balance positive, we will probably be sending them some money. Personally, my philosophy is that it costs a whole lot more than $60,000 to water that open space if it was a park instead of a golf course. So, and it does almost support itself. It's its capital that is the hardest thing to do. We're also sending $325,000 to the redevelopment agency for the Central Business District as our payment for the City Hall property. So the property where the City Hall is sitting. That was an agreement we did a few years ago, and that is the transfer of funds to help pay for that property. And then, let's see who else we need to talk about. The MBA fund, which is on page 74. No one else is going to talk about this one. This is in here, in this particular budget document for information purposes only. We will have a separate MBA meeting on June 15th? Yeah, on June 15th, where you will consider and approve this budget as the MBA board. Basically, what the MBA is doing right now, and it's on page 74, is building City Hall. So the activity you see in here is, the budget is $20 million is what I've moved forward of the bond proceeds. There will also be a roll forward. I don't know how much of the how much money we're gonna spend from now until the end of the year. I did my best guess that we would have at least $20 million left over. And that's what's being rolled forward. Our bond proceeds are making interest. I wish they were making more interest. I conservatively balanced $40,000 in there as the revenue for there. So this fund, it will basically build the building and then receive rent payments and make bond payments until the bond is paid off. So that's the simple thing for that. And I think we talk about the telecom fund, which is the one that, it's on page 129. That's the one that runs the queues for the old Utopia connections, where people could borrow money to connect to Utopia. That one is, we're down to 146 accounts. It should, I think the 10-year ones are just starting to pay off, some of them, and then the 20-year ones, of course, will be another 10 years. But as people buy and sell houses, they are dropping off because they usually get paid off. So that, anytime the fund balance is above $100,000, it's paying for itself. So it's doing okay. And I think that's about it. Do you have any, that nobody else is going to talk about, do you have any questions or anything you would like me to go over? Or?
I think that was really helpful. Also, Brenda, I just want to let you know I appreciate your meeting with us before, and that was also helpful because this is a lot to digest, and so I know for me anyway. So thanks for your prep as well. That was really helpful for me.
Me too.
I am running 15 minutes ahead, so we do have
Wow.
time if you want to discuss anything.
Any other questions, comments? No? All right, I think to echo Diane that the opportunity to discuss with you earlier and review and ask questions has got us in a good place. So thank you. Do we know if Kim is available earlier, or should we take a short break? He is?
He is.
All
I am here
right.
and available.
Hello. It's so good to hear your voice. We'd love to hear from you. How's your program doing? What do you need?
Well, I will tell you that it's exciting to see or to be here and see each of you. We are excited. Our Senior Recreation Center, as you know, opened this week, and recreation programs are popular and the parks are popular. So it just seems like maybe we're getting back to normal. So with that, I'll talk about the Parks and Recreation budget. And I can't see you, so I'll start on page 55. Let me know when you're there and ready.
Would you like me to keep sharing my screen so you can see that on the screen? Okay. I wanted you to at least see him for a second.
Everybody
I can-
ready? Everyone got theirs?
It's always good to see
Okay.
Kim.
All right, we are all there.
Okay, we'll start at page 55. That is, excuse me, that is the parks budget. The parks budget is status quo, with the exception of we are restoring the cuts that we made last year. So I'll start with staffing. Staffing remains constant, the same. We are restoring travel and learning, small equipment, and that is all restoring the cuts that we made last year during the unknown COVID era. Page 56.
Kim, can I ask, this is Brett, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
how has, when you say staffing is good, has it, or is the same, has it been at all difficult with any staffing with, I know you do a lot of, what do you call it? Help me out.
Part-time.
Yeah, part-time, but I know, but there's a seasonal. Seasonal, has it been harder with, I mean, on the news you hear that all these people are employed and it's hard to get them. Is that happening here or not?
It has been horrible, Brett. We cannot find seasonal staff for our parks. We are struggling to hire enough lifeguards for the summer. And Dave Caruth with our golf course, which is an area that people usually like to work seasonal. He told me today he has 2 applications this year. So we are spending a lot of time recruiting, a lot of time trying to find seasonal staff. So good question.
I wasn't expecting that, but
Are you interested in working during the day, maybe?
yeah, Dale said he wanted a part-time job, so.
We can find something for Dell as well. So
Thanks.
on page 56, utilities went up 4%, and that is just to keep up with the water tier rates that you're aware of. And then rent and lease payments went up 12%. And what that covers is it pays Pacific Corp for rent under the power lines at Willow Pond Park and Germania Park. There's a slight increase there. So, and that is the parks budget. I'll move on to the Park Center, page 57, unless there's questions with the parks.
Looks like there's no questions.
Okay, we'll move to page 57, Brenda. That is the Park Center, and you will see there's a number of, well, let me start with staffing. Staffing remains the same. Operations, you will see a number of areas that are increased to bring us back to status quo before COVID. Swimming pool supplies has gone up 11%. This covers the cost of swimming pool supplies. And then you'll notice that supplies sponsored has gone down to a 0 fund. What that is we had sponsorship monies in the 2 years previous and in 2021 that we don't have this year. So that has dropped. And then page 58. Page 58, contract officials has gone up 11%. This fund basically pays for our swimming and fitness instructors, so it has gone up 11%. That is the Park Center. If there's no questions on the Park Center, I'll move into recreation, page 59.
Just to comment on the Park Center, I hear that it's just packed, that people are really coming back in droves. So that's great.
We are seeing that, and we hope that it continues. So, page 59, recreation. So you'll notice there are several line items that have been restored again in recreation. Some that increased, other than restoring back to normal, was overtime. Has increased by $500. This is to cover the cost of overtime, mainly for the 4th of July. Supplies has increased about $3,000, and this covers the cost of supplies. And then the interesting thing is software support. Software support has increased by about $5,500, and this is to purchase a program called Quick Scores. What Quick Scores does is it allows our recreation coordinators to schedule schedules and games with a program that allows the public to see all of their games, all of their game times, and any changes are instantaneous. So you can look online and see all of your games and any changes. It also allows us to post scores for the adult leagues and standings as well. So we're excited to bring on Quick Scores to the recreation department. That covers recreation, unless there's questions with recreation.
Quick Scores sounds amazing. Is that a one-time purchase or like a regular subscription?
That is a year-to-year subscription, but if you're involved in any of our recreation programs, you will see that used this year. And it will be amazing. We've tested the program on one of our smaller leagues, and we really like it, and think the public will as well.
Sounds great. Any questions for that? Nope, no questions here.
All right, we'll go into arts and history, page 60. Again, we've restored a number of line items back to normal. Just a couple to mention that you may have questions on. Contract services went down, and this was because of grants, a grant change. But if you look, it goes back to the fiscal year 19 and 2000 number. Staffing remains constant at 2 full-time employees. So, any questions on arts and history?
I don't see any questions here. I'll ask just, do you have any, have you heard anything from the county as far as a rebound of grant accessibility for like our arts and parks, or are they still playing it cautious?
So we still believe we're going to receive the same grants from ZAP funding for our cultural arts and the small grants. The one that may be of interest to you is the track money that was going to be used for the theater. We know that they're looking at that. We are hoping that they restore the funding for the theater, and I'll talk a little more about that as we get to the CIP. But if you have contacts in the county, please let them know that we're anxious and would like to see that the money restored for the theater. So good question.
Thank you.
In addition to that, I received an email from Brad Kendrick that he is planning to put together he's from the county, and he's planning to put together a track meeting early fall. So we'll have some discussion about that. I sit on the track board.
Thank you for that update.
Okay, we'll move into outdoor pool. That's page 61. So our outdoor pool, again, there's only changes in bringing things back to fiscal year 20 level. You'll notice that our full-time wages looks like it's changed by 53%, but this is not the case. It was a budget error, so no change there. And then equipment maintenance has gone up 1,000, and that's simply to cover the cost of maintaining the equipment at the outdoor pool. Our seasonal money and lifeguards are paid out of the park center budget, so you don't see that in the outdoor pool budget. So, any questions with the outdoor pool?
I don't see any here.
Okay, we'll move to the senior rec center, which is page 62. So there is a change on our senior rec center in staffing. We are asking for our meal program supervisor. This is a position that works 30 hours a week, so 75% or 3/4 of a position. However, they receive full benefits from the city, so we're asking that position go to full-time or an additional 10 hours. This is easily justified, at least from our end, in that we can work this person 40 hours a week and maybe even eliminate some of the seasonal helping that position out. And the cost is minimal to the city for what we gain on having a full-time employee. And then everything else down below in operations is restoring back to fiscal year 20. So that is the senior rec center operation budget. Any questions there?
How is the reopening of the rec center going?
The reopening is going wonderful. Our seniors are, I was going to say happy, but I'm going to say ecstatic to be back at the senior center. I was telling the mayor yesterday, the only problem that we had is we have fitness equipment at the senior rec center, and we didn't think about the small batteries that are in the fitness center and how they get recharged is by using the equipment. So we had some issues the first day with low batteries and batteries going dead, but that was quickly renovated with use of the equipment. So we're excited for the senior center to be open.
That's so wonderful. Diane, did you have a question?
How did you know that? Good. Well, I'm just curious a little bit more on the meal program supervisor. you usually have seasonal meal program staff that you use? Is that why you're going to put it to full time and it'll save us some money?
Yeah, the meal program supervisor has a seasonal person that comes in and helps them when needed. And they'll be able to use that person less hours. And plus, we'll be able to offer a little bit more in lines of our meal programs, having this person there 40 hours a week.
All right.
And again, they're working 30 hours right now with full benefits.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
I'll hop back for a question with the outdoor pool. Is it going to be open at full capacity? Any restrictions?
So I talked with Marcy today. We are planning to open at full capacity. She's nervous about having enough lifeguards, but we're a month away, and we're planning to open at full capacity, regular schedules, beginning that Saturday before Memorial Weekend. I think it's the 29th, if I remember correctly.
That is very exciting. I know my little people are very excited to get back to the pool. But I lied to them and told them the pool is only open if it's 75 degrees or warmer. So they ask me the temperature every day. I'm like, sorry.
Yes.
All right.
It's looking good.
Right? I think we are good here. Any other questions? No. Okay.
All right. Next one we'll bounce to is page 63, the cemetery. With staffing on the cemetery, we have an office administrator that is 30-hour employee, as well as like the Mills person at the Senior Rec Center. This person maintains and takes care of our office. We're requesting that this position go to 40 hours a week as well. Now this one makes no sense as to why we haven't had it before, because going 40 hours a week will allow us to have our office administrator there during the times that the office is open. Currently, we're having to bring in a maintenance employee to help with the office when this person goes home for the day, because they've only been 30 hours a week. So it basically mirrors the other position. And then down below, our operation budget, there is no impact here. This budget was not impacted with COVID because it's a bare bones budget, and there just wasn't anywhere last year to cut that budget to allow for savings. So there was no cuts last year. There's no additions this year. That's the cemetery. Any questions on the cemetery?
Yes, I have a question. As far as plots go with the cemetery, I know we're maxed, and I know we're doing niches. Are there, at one time I know that we had increased some plots. Are there still available? Probably not. And also, are we thinking about, is there any other area that we're thinking about increasing in this area? I get a few calls, not tons, but I get a few calls on plots in the cemetery, and if there's ever going to be more, or if there's another location ever being considered.
So you may remember, and may not, a couple of years ago when we were sold out, we went through and did an inventory of all of our plots that had been abandoned or were possibly available at the cemetery, and did a random sale of those plots and sold out. So there is no plots available at the cemetery. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, there's no ground, at least around the cemetery, that makes sense to expand into. So if the council and mayor were to want to expand the cemetery, we would have to look to a different site. And I just don't see that being feasible, unfortunately. We do have niche spots available, but no burial plots.
All right. Thank you, Kim.
Any other questions? Nope, we're good here.
Okay, we'll jump over to facilities, which is page 64. In personnel, you'll see a 6% increase in seasonal part-time monies, and this is to cover janitorial services for the municipal court. Jeff and the facilities division are taking over the municipal court cleaning of that building. So And everything else in operations is returning to fiscal year 20, or returning back to where we were before COVID. And that is the facilities. It's a large division, but not a lot to talk about unless you have questions.
Doesn't look like we have any questions here.
Okay, I'm going to jump clear to page 125, which is our golf course. All right, the Parkway Golf Course. Again, there's a number of areas that we're restoring back to fiscal year 20 rates. Other than that, you'll see on page 127, Golf Course Pro. You may ask, what's the 99% decrease in small equipment? Well, this is because our golf carts were funded out of the current fiscal year budget. And then professional services, you will notice a 7,233% increase. This is not correct. It was just an accounting error there. So you'll see that the funds are the same as they were in fiscal year 19 and 20. So that's a mistake. And
You'll see that mistake get corrected on the next budget amendment. So, yeah.
there is two areas where there's a slight increase. Golf course superintendent, page 128. Vehicle maintenance has gone up 10% or $200 to cover the cost of maintaining vehicles. And our telephone has gone up 13%, but this is an increase. This is an increase of $200 to cover the cost of telephone and internet. And then as Brenda mentioned, we are still, or the general fund is still subsidizing $60,000 towards the operation of the golf course. Any questions on the golf course?
No questions here.
All right. Well, Brenda, let's jump to our CIP, page 3. All right, if you're on, I'll give it a minute.
Oops.
We lost you, Brenda. Or you lost your mirroring.
I lost my mirroring. There we go. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, there we are. CIP budget, page 3. I don't know how detailed you want me to get, so I will just quickly explain each department CIP request and then ask for questions. So in the parks, they have an ATV to replace an ATV that's a 2007 model and worn out, $12,000. A utility vehicle that's over 13 years old at $14,000. A pickup truck that's a 2001, $40,000. A 1995 tractor at $48,000, an old 60-inch mower, $15,000, and then the garbage truck. So we're anticipating that the garbage truck is going to need to be replaced in about 5 years. This is a $350,000 expenditure. That's double what the parks has allocated each year for their annualized CIP budget. So they are starting to save for that purchase. And this year, they're going to save $46,000 towards that purchase in 5 years. That is the parks equipment budget. Any questions on that?
No.
All right, parks and infrastructure. So we have $12,000 for the park impact fee. We talked a month or two ago about that in Council of a Whole. Parkside Playground, this is the playground right next to Parkside Elementary School. That's $220,000 to replace that playground. The furnace, the office furnace, in the Parks and Recreation office needs to be changed. It's 25 years old. That's $60,000. And then fall material is $10,000. And this is the wood chip material that's still used in many of our playgrounds. Trail maintenance and parking lot maintenance. This is mainly in Murray Park to do some work with the asphalt trails and overlaying or slurry coating some of our parking lots at $25,000. Backflow preventers, $25,000. This is a request from our water department. We have some areas that need to be brought up to code, and they need backflow preventers. So that's $25,000. And then resurface the Southwood Park tennis court is a cost of $30,000. So that is infrastructure for the Parks Department. Is there any questions on any of those?
With the replenishing of the fall material, like the wood chips, is there a long-term plan when putting in new playgrounds that it's unitary cushioning used, or is it kind of park by park?
I'm sorry, I didn't get your whole question. Could you repeat it?
Yeah, I was just wondering, we've got the wood chips in some parks, but some of the newer ones have the cushioning, the unitary cushioning, that soft, awesome stuff. I don't know how to describe it. It's awesome to walk on. It scares my dog. Is there a citywide plan as far as consistency for fall cushioning, or is it just playground by playground?
No, that's a great question. So we are, if we get funding, the poured in place surfacing is costly, but we have started to use poured in place. I think we're on about the third year of that. And although it's more costly, it does provide more impact protection. So it's a lot safer, and the surface will last 20 plus years. So our plan is to continue to replace playgrounds, and as we replace playgrounds, we will put in the poured in place surfacing and get rid of the wood chips. Wood chips does its job, but it's a pain.
No, that's really great to hear. And I know my sister-in-law was always driving miles to find playgrounds that her little one can use as walker on. So it's really great to hear that smooth surface, and then the toddlers don't eat the wood chips. So that's nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question. Park Center. So the Park Center is allocated $75,000 a year. They're asking for $65,000 for their fitness equipment, and then $10,000 for a swimming timing machine that'll be used at the comp pool. The high school will be paying for half of this system because they use it for their swim meets, and then we have the MAC club that uses it. So that is the Park Center CIP. Any questions on those two items?
Kim, I'm just wondering if the Park Center, if they're going to be redoing the surface in the exercise room again this year, if they needed to do it this year.
I don't know the answer to that question. I haven't heard Marcy talk about it, but I can certainly find out and get back to you.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious. Usually in September, end of August, September, they close it, which I hate, but I know it's necessary. I'm just curious if they're going to be doing it again this year.
I'm suspecting if we do it, it'll be a lot less, because while we were closed, we went through and did a very thorough refurbishing where we could in the gym floor. So if so, it'll be a lot fewer days. I don't see us doing it for a whole week.
Great, that's what I was hoping. Thank you.
All right, page 5, recreation. They have two items: a Dr. Dish basketball feeder, and I know you're all excited to use this. This is a system that automatically feeds the balls to basketball players as they're practicing or playing over at the rec center. And then replace our volleyball system. So we're going to replace the volleyball system in the Park Center, and so you understand, we'll take the Park Center system and move it to Hillcrest Junior High that we use, and we'll take the Hillcrest Junior High system and move it to Christ Lutheran Church, which we use for volleyball as well. So our old system will go to Christ Lutheran, and the new system at the Park Center. So I'm pleased with our recreation and thinking this through and making sure that we have the best equipment for our own facilities. So That is recreation. Any questions with recreation CIP?
No questions here.
Okay, arts and history. This is very simple. We have $500,000 that we're putting towards a savings for the Murray Theater. Again, we're hopeful that the Trax money will be restored, and we'll again be looking towards renovating our Murray Theater. Any questions on the theater?
Do we have an idea of how much it's going to cost to do that?
Well, we had an idea a year and a half ago, and it was about $7.4 million. As you know, the cost of construction hasn't gone down and isn't the same. So we're anticipating that it's going to be more, but we don't have a cost on today's cost.
Yeah, I sure wish we could get going on that. That would be good for the whole city, I think.
Is the grant amount the same, 3.5 million?
I
Or
think it
not
was
grant, sorry, not, but the track funds, or was it track?
Yeah, we're hoping that it's the same. Wouldn't it be great if they gave us more? But hopefully they give us the same. And you're right, it was around 3.5 million.
Yeah, we don't know with that, Brett. I know it won't be more.
Yeah.
It'll be that it was 3.6.
Hope it'd be that, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, page 6 is the Senior Rec Center. They are asking for 2 items, a new fridge and a new dishwasher in the kitchen area. I don't know if you have any questions about that, those 2.
No questions.
All right, cemetery is asking for 4 items. They're asking to update the office with new carpet and repaint. That's $25,000. They're asking to replace a 1995 truck for $26,000. And you probably haven't seen this truck, but if you have, I call it the ugliest truck in the city's fleet. So it will be nice to have that gone. And then a mower for $18,000. And then soil contaminant bins. If you've been over to the cemetery, you know that it just northwest of the cemetery office, there's an area where they dump soil remains and use soil as they go about their business. The stormwater people have asked us that to put in these containers so that we can control the stormwater and not have concerns with stormwater going through that and then into our stormwater. So, and that's $40,000. That's the cemetery CIP. Any questions with the cemetery?
I just want to know if Lori's going to highlight these trucks from 1995 in the museum. I feel like
If we keep them much longer, they will become antiques and Lori can use them, yes.
amazing.
The facilities, page 7. So Jeff has asked for 6 items. Building upgrades, $1 million. This is to prepare the mansion to move the museum over there when City Hall closes. Fire Station 84, this is a new HVAC system for Fire Station 84. Polish range floor, this is to polish the cement floor at the gun range. Asphalt, new asphalt at Fire Station 82 and 83. Circulation pump and strainer replacement, this is the outdoor pool. It is rusting. Windows at the Park Center, this is to replace some of the windows at the Park Center, the ones that have leaking sills. And then the last one is the emergency fund, repair fund for $200,000. And the idea here is that we know that we have major costly items, especially at the Park Center. We have air handlers, 2 of those, one that moves the air into the comp pool and one that moves the air into the leisure pool. Both of these systems to replace would be somewhere in the neighborhoods of $1 million each. So this will be a fund that if that does happen, we won't be in panic mode and need to come to the council and say, hey, we need to replace the air handler and we need to do it right now. So this is just an emergency fund that we're hoping to build up to about $1 million over a period of time. Any questions with the facilities? CIP?
No questions.
All right. My last page is page 9, which is the golf course. So the pro shop has asked for 2 items: resurface the counters in the cafe at $11,000, and then replace the range ball dispenser for $65,000. And that's the dispenser that where you buy balls for the heating range. And then the superintendent or grounds, they have a bed knife grinder for $23,000. This sharpens their lawnmower blades. Team mower replacements, 2 of those for $70,000. A fairway mower at $80,000. An inline irrigation device for $25,000. So I'm gonna explain this to you a little bit. Oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, when the golf course is watered, the ground is so hard because of salts and clays that the water just sits on top of the ground. Well, this is a new system that diffuses the water as it goes through, and what it supposedly does is it takes the water molecules and breaks them down into smaller molecules so that they'll penetrate through the ground better. And it's $25,000. Dave has researched this for years. Although it's scientifically over my head, and maybe not Dave's, but he believes it's worth a try. So that's what that is. And the next one is a light duty turf utility cart for $10,000 and an air compressor in the maintenance shop for $10,000. And that's the golf course's CIP request. Any questions?
No questions.
Well, that is all of Parks and Recreation. We thank you for your time and appreciate the support that you gives Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you even on the screen, and we appreciate everything you and your team does. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you again.
Yep, thank you.
All right. We're running a little bit ahead, but is GL online or around? And does he want to start?
I'm on Zoom. I'm around.
You are. It just sounds like the
I am.
voice from on high without my Zoom up. Welcome, GL. We'd love to hear about your budget.
Okay, my budget starts on page 25 and 26. Page 25 is the civil attorney side, and 26 is the prosecution side. It's basically the same as it has been. The one change is in professional services on the civil side. That's on page 25. We took some professional services from the risk to, let's see, $25,000 worth, and moved that into this side so that there can be funds budgeted for those situations that are not related to litigation. Prosecution, like I said, pretty much stays where it has been as the civil side. Are there any questions on either of those?
Doesn't look like any questions here.
Okay. The next is the retained risk. That starts at page 140. We've talked about this on 2 or 3 occasions. The differences here basically are the cost of insurance to the city has increased, and that's from what we're told, that's a nationwide trend. And then there's been an increase in professional services to cover litigation. Those are essentially the changes. Do you have any questions on those?
Looks like no questions.
That's all I have.
Whew, I feel like we should just ask like other
That's-
random questions.
That's the quickest response I've ever had from an attorney.
All right. Well, if the council doesn't have any more questions, then I think that we are good. Thank you, GL.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jill.
All right. We are scheduled for a break at 2, but if anyone from our later lineup are available, we could jump down to them now. Do you see anyone on, Jennifer? Danny is? Hi, Danny. If you are ready to go, we would love to hear about Public Works right now.
Okay, I think most of my backup crew is with me. So since I don't know everything, I've had them try to jump on with us. So let me
If you need a second to call them in. Okay, we're going to actually take like a 5-minute break. So let's take 5 minutes and then we'll get going at 20 till. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, that's great. I
Okay,
appreciate it.
great. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we are all back here in the council chambers. Danny, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, are you prepared or do you need another minute?
No, I think we're good. So
Awesome.
I think we still have one person missing, but he'll come on here soon. So we'll go ahead and get started with this.
It's
We'll
good to
begin
see
with
you,
our-
Danny. It's Diane.
Pardon me? Oh.
I see you so seldom. It just seems good. I wish it were in person, but it's great to see you, and thank you so much for.
Yeah, I don't get to see your
being here.
faces there.
I know.
Only when,
No, we miss you.
yeah, soon. So we'll start with our streets budget. We'll do the general fund budgets, then the enterprise funds, and then we'll jump to the CIP if that's okay.
Sounds great.
Okay, so let's go to page 50 is our streets budget, where that begins. Okay. Really, the one thing I just wanted to point out here is in our professional fees. Last year, if you recall, we originally asked for money to do the street scan and sidewalk scan all in 1 year. And because of the budget constraints last year, we decided to cut back and just do the roadways, the streets portion of that. This year, we would like to add the money in so that we can do the sidewalk portion. And as part of our professional services and finish up the program. What we found out with the roadways is that we had a pretty good handle on there, but we found that there was a few roads that rose to the top of a list that we hadn't been aware of, and so that was a good thing for us to do. And so we've got that in our program, and it's working really well for us now. So we hope that the sidewalk portion will help us in the very similar way. So that's most of our full-time and operations. Had a few additional expenses for our cost of our phones for communication, but other than that, that's a pretty basic budget. So if there's any questions, I'd love to answer that. Otherwise, we can move on to our engineering.
Any questions? Nope, no questions here.
Okay, page 52. So in this budget, there are a couple of things I'll point out. We have asked or have put in additional monies for travel and training. We didn't do much last year, and now the guys the engineers are bumping up against the need to maintain their licenses and certifications, and so we're going to need to. We needed to add some money in there to provide for that training. Additionally, on page 53, the small equipment and also professional services, we did come up with that, but the small equipment, we needed to upgrade and buy some larger computer screens for plan reviews. And it's interesting. And then in addition to that is the need to upgrade our license with AutoCAD and go to full AutoCAD with Civil 3D, which is pretty much the industry standard, and that we need to get that in our equipment so that we can have that available so that plan reviews can be on the very same thing that our development and contractors are bringing to us. Additionally, the professional services, there's a need to update some of our FEMA and firm maps FERM stands for, everybody knows what FEMA is, right? The Federal Emergency Management Agency. But FERM is it's the flood insurance rate maps, and some of our areas within our boundaries, and they're not right, and they need to be changed. And so we need to do that through an outside firm to come in and model those, and so that we can prepare to give those back to FEMA to get them for that to change. So with those two things, I think that's our budget for engineering. There are some additional costs. As you'll notice, there's an additional engineer that we've asked for in this budget. So just wanted to make that, bring that to your attention as well.
Danny,
Yes.
the additional engineer, what would be the need for that?
That's a good question. So as of the last few years, we've been inundated with a lot of developments, and we don't really see an end of that for quite a long time. This engineer one of the main things that they would be doing is working with our development and trying to stay on top of things. Some of the things that we're dealing with, we're just short on resources, and we commit a lot of time to the submittals, and the legislature has given certain dates where you have to turn around development plans and permits and all that kind of stuff. And so to meet that, we've been having to put off a lot of things to the very last minute to work on these developments. And again, we see a lot more coming, and they're with us constantly. So engineering division is involved in pretty much all the aspects of our development, but we're tasked with resolving the issues between us and during the planning portion of it, the design and construction phases of it, and also that the development workload again is resulting in delays in planned public work projects. And so we've been very good at asking for grants and getting federal monies for projects. The hard part is providing staff to manage those projects, and we're not able to do that. So we're really behind on using the grants and federal money, even though we're still trying to get those monies, and we're committed to that, but we just need help to make that happen for the future. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, thank you. We want to make sure you have what you need. It sounds like you really need that position. So thanks for the information, Danny.
You're welcome. So with that, any other questions for engineering?
No questions.
Okay. So the next one then, let's go to page 106, which would be starting in the enterprise funds. This is the water fund. So again, you've probably heard this. You heard this from Kim. Most of our budgets are pretty basic. Very few increases. There are just a few little ones, but we'll go through some of the minor ones that we have. When we get into the CIP, they'll probably help. You'll probably have questions there. We have in our professional fees in the water, we have projects that we need to that we're hiring out, and so we're using outside engineering firms to develop those projects for us. We've had an increase in the fluoride costs, and I don't know what's going to happen with our chlorine, as of just the other day, we were hearing that chlorine is going to be a difficult commodity to come by, not in gas form or liquid form. It's going to be hard to come by in the salt tablet form. And that's what we use, is the salt tablets. It's safer and what more convenient for us. So, but we should be able to absorb those costs, but our fluoride costs have gone up a little bit. So, other than that, there are some additional costs. You'll probably notice in our operations on page 110 from our meter reader. It looks like a real high percentage. It's 250%, but we went from $1,000 for their supplies to $3,500, and there's a need for equipment, but also this is part of their safety clothing that we provide for them. Last year, the power department, or last few years, the power department has funded those, but with the switch and them coming to the water division to work out of, we need to provide for those and budget for it. So that's the reason for that one. Other than that, we're meeting our obligations for our bonding and other things. And so if you have any questions in that fund, again, we'll get to projects here when we get to the CIP, but any questions there?
I'm just wondering about the supplies, 250% increase. Is it just stuff
Right,
we've been weighed?
Yeah, that's what I just went through. The clothing that they wear, the meter readers wear, is really expensive clothing. And the last couple of years, the power department has budgeted for it. Now we're budgeting for those clothing items. It's special clothing that's rated for flash rated and for protection, and it's pretty expensive clothing. So
Okay. I guess I'm.
that's the purpose for it.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. I understand the way the funds are allocated for the property site master plan, for the public services property site master plan, but could you talk a little bit just about what that will look like?
Sure. And that's a really good question. I forgot to bring that up. I didn't have that on my notes, but one of the things that we have been dealing with down here, we know that the new city hall is going to change, or the new city hall is going to be built, or it is being built, and with that, CED is going to be moving up to city hall. So this building will be vacated. There's old buildings here that we have our crews in, and so and we need the room down here to operate. So what we wanted to do is have somebody come in and help us develop a master plan view of our site here and the use of our buildings. And with that, that's the purpose of it. And so we've kind of divided up how that's going to be paid for between the departments and different. So it one department isn't getting hit with, or one division isn't getting hit with the whole expense. So we're just kind of sharing that expense. And that's our goal, is to just kind of look at the site down here and our buildings to see how we can expand, provide the storage that we need, provide the working space that is needed in the best possible way, and to see if we can either repurpose, or we're going to have to tear down and build a new shops or whatever it might be. And that's our goal.
Thank you. Yeah. Is that something that will be presented to us, or will we get to hear about once it's complete?
If that's something that that you would like, I'm sure it's something that we can talk with the mayor about and show that to you, how that would look.
He's nodding at me. It just sounds fascinating. I'm just excited about it. Brett, did you have a question? Okay. All right. No more questions over here.
Okay. All right, so let's go to page 112, the wastewater fund. So in this one, we're not asking for an additional person. What we're doing is asking for a different assignment for a person within the division. So that's all we're looking for, is to have a lead tech out in the field. We do have a lead. We do have a field supervisor and the superintendent, but oftentimes when we're finding that when they're out in the field, that leadership needs to be there as well. So we're asking for that upgrade. Then as far as the budget is concerned, not a whole lot of big things to talk about. We do have a couple of people who are going to school, so the tuition reimbursement has gone up, which we encourage that. So we definitely want to fund or offer that to our employees to better themselves and to better the division. And then did want to talk a little bit about the fund itself. As we go through this, we're just completing our wastewater master plan, and that will come before the council for a review in the future here. But as part of that, we hadn't specifically planned to look at our fees, but we know that what's been taking place at Central Valley has been much more expensive than what we had originally planned in our last master plan and last rate review. With that in mind, we have taken a look at that, and we know that we're going to need to make some changes. And so we're reviewing those right now and reviewing those with the mayor's office. And we'll need to be coming to the council in the future for that. But the cost of the Central Valley changes has gone originally from the 250 million to 350. Now they have pared back some of the things that are necessary right this very minute, but and added that to ongoing expenses on a monthly basis, but the expense is still in that $300 million range, and which was completely unexpected. So with that, many of the other entities immediately raised their a $5 increase several years ago. We decided to take a more methodical look at it and raise our rates in smaller increments. As it turns out, we might have made the wrong decision doing it slowly. We were trying to be more conscious of our citizens, but we might find ourselves in trouble here. But we're still reviewing those, and we might receive a little bit of help from this, from not CARES money, but this last infrastructure funding that is being proposed or coming to us. But we're looking at all options, and so we'll bring that information to the council later. Just wanted to keep you aware of that. So with that, any other questions on the wastewater?
No questions.
Okay, so we're at the solid waste fund, page 130. So as you know, we made some changes last year with our solid waste fund, and as part of that, we went back to the every other week recycle pickup and went and decided to add or put in a neighborhood cleanup. And the way that we have done that is offered those individual dumpsters by invitation or reservation. And so all of the month of May now, so May is our first month, and so April or May is the first month. So at the beginning of April, we did put out the information, and we finally filled up all of May's reservations just right at probably the very last day of April, which was not a big problem because we can still, if we had them available, we'd still allow them to be given out. But they're all filled, and we think the program is working well. The hardest thing for us right now is just keeping track of them. We're still looking for a program to manage it. But for right now, we're using a Google Calendar. It's a little more labor intensive, and our two office people are managing it pretty good. So at the beginning of the month, it gets pretty intense after the cards get mailed out, but it's being received really well in the community. So hopefully we won't have a lot of bad negative things coming from it, but so far it's been really good. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. We're watching this fund really closely to making sure that we don't fall behind, because Transjordan is for the next 5 years is having they're raising their tipping fees $2 each year, $2 a ton. So we kind of need to keep that in mind with our rates as we go forward with our fees that we charge for our solid waste. So we do know that our fees are going to have to go up, and I think we've adjusted them correctly, but we're going to be watching this closely as well. No surprises in this budget specifically, so unless you have questions, I think we're.
Danny, when you fill the calendar you said it's full for May for recycling, the recycle bin or the bins. Sorry.
Yeah, the cleanup.
Cleanup. Tell me, when do you begin for June? It just right now starts to fill up for June.
It started at the first of May, or the 2nd of May was the first working day. So we've started that now, and we're receiving those reservations.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that we have that map out there. It's on the website. So we try to use our social media and the city website, as well as the postcards that we mail out. So let's see. I did want to mention our refuse, our garbage cans. We had to change our vendor for the garbage cans. We've had they were having problems, and they were 6 to 9 months behind on their supply. So we've changed vendors, and so we're getting our containers, and prices have gone up a little bit, but I think we're still okay in our budgets as we've developed here. So, any other questions on the solid waste?
No other questions.
Okay, so let's jump into the stormwater. So this is another fund that we do watch this, but we set forth in 2019, the council approved a 5-year rate increase plan going forward. So we're only in our first year. The second increase won't take place until July. So we're we still have until 2024 for these increases to take place. But so we think our stormwater fund is meeting our needs right now. We just needed some of the costs that came in last year a little bit high in our projects, and so we've been working on the smaller projects in-house and saving most of the money for the larger projects that require contractors to do. So, but we think that everything's good the way that we're working right now. We did have some additional expenses that hit us with our Vine Street project, but we're able to use some of our transportation tax money in that. It can be used for that type of infrastructure during a road project as well. So, but I think we're okay. So, but just letting you know that we're watching that closely. And as far as the budget is concerned, there's nothing that's really out of sight there. Did have a little bit of expense in the our small equipment, but that's just replacing pumps and things like that are needed each year. And then our rent and leases went up by 125%, but that's part of the equipment that we have. We have a trade out program on pieces of equipment, and they've got 3 pieces now, and that's why the rental or lease costs are the way they are. So, but we get new equipment every year because of that. So, and it's pretty inexpensive for us overall. I think that's all I have to share on the stormwater fund, unless you have questions there.
No questions here.
Okay. Then our central garage. So, as you know, we have our shop takes care of roughly 400 pieces of or vehicles and another 150 smaller pieces of equipment. So they can be busy at times. They do a good job. No surprises in their budget. They operate pretty efficiently and are helping to meet the needs of the city overall. So, have any questions there? Love to answer them.
Yeah, Danny, I don't have a question, but over the years, I've watched the age of the equipment that Murray has, especially in the construction industry with dump trucks and lay-down machines, tack trucks.
Right.
I really think if you don't maybe canonize these people in the shop, you ought to at least make them knights, because the work they do to save Murray money and to keep this equipment on the road is just amazing. Especially, what do we have? 4 people in the whole shop.
Yeah, we have 4. Yeah, we have 4 people. We have 3 mechanics basically in there that do all of that work. And so, yeah, you're right. And they are great people, great guys to work with, and they do a great job for us.
Yeah, it's just amazing what they do.
Yeah, they do. Thank you.
Looks like no other questions on our end.
Okay. So I think our the streets CIP begins on page 12 of the CIP. Okay. So we are going to, and this is where you come up against these super old pieces of equipment. So we've got a 20-year-old 10-wheel and a 20-year-old or 21-year-old 10-wheel dump truck and a 20-year-old bobtail dump truck that we're replacing. Replacing a a 1.5 ton truck I didn't have the year on this one, so but this truck, I'm pretty sure it's at least 15 years old. And then also another 1.5 ton truck that we'll replace because it's got mechanical issues. Another 10 to 12-year-old truck. So, and these are everyday drivers. Every day they pull a lot of equipment and they do a lot of work every day. So, and that's for the street CIP. And then in the transportation tax, that portion of the CIP, we're upgrading pedestrian signs. I'm not super familiar with these, other than I see them now and again. When you come across a stop sign or a caution sign that's got flashing LEDs all the way around it, that's some of the signs that we're looking at upgrading throughout the city for crossing and for just stops and things like that. In a few areas that we've decided to try to see if we can't get people's better attention. And really, these are pedestrian safety items to improve the safety at crossings at 13th East and 5290 South. There's one there, and then also at Fashion and 5770 South. There's just some areas that we felt like that has needed, that's been neglected a little bit and needed to see if we can make it safer for our pedestrians.
Danny, let me ask you, is the one on 5770 South, is that the one, Fashion Place or Boulevard, is that the corner where Tosh is?
Let's see, Chris, do you know where that is exactly? I think that's where it is.
Yes, I believe it's the existing intersection. It functions well as a school crossing, but in hours that are not covered by school, there's not a lot of visibility. And that's why I want to go with the signs.
All right. Yep, that's what I'm thinking. Thank you.
That's why I brought those guys. So, and then the other projects, you can see, fortunately, we did get some money from the legislature this year, some one-time $500,000, and then ongoing for 15 years, another $500,000 each year for those 15 years. So we're going to put it to good use, but you can see that one of those increments is going to go to some road improvements along Commerce. And that may change depending on whether this project actually goes in or not. So, but we will be using that money definitely for the good of Murray City. Again, radar speed signs. We're planning on putting another or purchasing another and replacing some that we already have. I think the 30,000 will get us somewhere between 8 and 9 of those, depending upon the size and what they're capable of doing. Jeremy Drive, Jeremy Court, an overlay on that. Concrete repairs and overlay on Maplewood and Ashwood. And again, all of these are projects that have been on our list, but also rose to the top of the list with our new street scan program as well. So Bellevue and Afton, overlay there. Main Street, Starlight and Moonridge, overlays. And then we have, again, a federal aid project, our Vine Street project. This is part of our matching funds that we have to give and put into the project. and then our college drive matching funds for the federal aid. You can see, we have to provide matching funds when when we get federal money or state money sometimes, and so these are our portions of it. Anderson Avenue, the water line is already in, but the water department's already done, or water division's already done that, and now this will be money to shape and overlay that road. And then we'll need a new vehicle for our engineering division with this new engineer coming on. And then Lorene and Surrey Lane. And those are the projects for the transportation tax for identified for fiscal 22. So, any questions on those?
No questions here.
Okay, awesome. So of course, then we have our Class C funds, and so we have our projects identified that where those projects where that money will be going. Of course, we always purchase our road salt out of the Class C, and then we have our slurry seals and crack sealing and patching that we take out of that as well. We have our sidewalk money that comes out of that. So we've budgeted $350,000 this year for the sidewalk replacements and ADA ramp replacements. And again, this money is separate of some of our road project money that we include curb and gutter and sidewalk replacements in as well. And then our Main Street to 45th South to the city limits. If you've driven down there near Fire Clay all the way to the Big Cottonwood Creek, that road's pretty rough, and so we were trying to do it. We tried to do it last year, but we just didn't have the funds available. So we're planning on doing that this year. And then this is our matching funds for Cedar Street sidewalk project there, and so that project will be done after school lets out this year. And then Commerce Drive, Vine Street, 5300 South overlay project there. It's a pretty good sized project. So, and that's where our Class C money will be going this year. Any questions on that?
No questions.
Okay, so page 18 will be where the water fund. So some of the projects they've got, so they budgeted about $1.6 million this year for projects, and some of those will be projects that will be done by contractors. Others will be done in-house. There's a number of projects that need to be done to stay ahead of road projects and rebuilds and overlays, and so. There's our Commerce Drive between 45th and 48th. Part of that water line's been done, but they're going to finish that. 370 East off of Winchester, Nema Drive, Sagewood, 4th and 5th Avenue. Water lines need to be replaced as part of the overall downtown area. Century Drive, 5750 in Deerfield. And I'm not sure that we can get all of those done, but that's the list. There's never not enough projects. We got plenty of projects. It's just funding and time. So, we need, in addition to that, is new meter reading equipment. Our Itron is phasing out part of the old equipment, and so we're going to have to replace all of our readers for our meter readers. This gets us started, but we're still going to need some next year as well. And then again, our water department has a buyback program with Bobcat for our skid loader. We're working on replacing or doing some major maintenance, I'd call it, on our Reservoir 4. And you probably don't know what Reservoir 4 means, but it's Reservoir 4 is on Fort Union, and it's about 29th East or 30th East. It's right on Butler Hill, and it's off to the north side of Fort Union. It's actually just barely west of the church that's right at the very top of Fort Union, and that's Butler Hill there. So anyway, that has needed some maintenance for the drainage around it and coating on the top, and so they're looking at the options that they need to do there, and make those repairs that are necessary. That tank is a huge part of our water system, and we want to make sure that one is always operational and in good shape. Then our Monrock well, which is about the same east, but it's a little bit to the further north in the subdivision. The old Monrock gravel pit, and that's why we call it Monrock Well, is where that subdivision was built. Pardon me?
I'm not sure who that was.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, inside that neighborhood there, originally there was a concrete wall or concrete fence that was put in there. And it was really nice fence. But over the years, the neighbors, when the subdivision was built, the neighbors have piled up dirt on the back side of that fence, and it was never built to hold that kind of weight. And it has slowly deteriorated where many of those panels have dropped. And so they need to, the water division needs to get in there and get those get that wall replaced and upgrade it to something that'll hold that hill. They're going to replace an 11-year-old truck, replace a 15-year-old a dump truck, 10-wheel dump truck, and then again, this is part of the funding for the future layout of our public works facilities down here. And we have well rehab work that we do every year as part of our sustainability study that we did, things that were identified there, and we're still working on those projects and will be for several years. And then upgrading the equipment that's inside of our pump houses, and if you've not heard this number before, we have 20 wells. And so there's lots of infrastructure and equipment that needs to be replaced on a yearly basis. And so, and some of those, so number 11 there on that list is some of the old buildings still have flat roofs, and we're retrofitting those to pitched roofs and changing windows and access ways to those buildings. So, and that is the CIP for the water. Any questions there?
Looks like no questions.
So then wastewater. So of course, the first on the list is our Central Valley pay-as-you-go, but monies that we pay into Central Valley for upgrades and maintaining the facilities. We do have a sewer rehab root intrusion plan going forward this year. We budget usually a little bit of money every year for maintaining our sewer lines and lining those. And it helps to solve two problems. One is it helps to solve infiltration, inflow into the system, as well as stops root intrusion and deterioration of the pipes. And then part of the funding for the master plan for our public works facilities, and we're replacing 2007 Colorado, and we're installing a grinder, and that's, and you can see a grinder is pretty expensive, but when you see the kind of things that sometimes get down the sewer line, you'd shake your head and you go, how did that get in there? But we get rocks, and we get boards, and we get all kinds of things put down in the sewer, and so these grinders are pretty heavy duty. It's not like your normal sink grinder. So, all right, any questions on the wastewater?
Nope, no questions.
Okay. Solid waste fund, just replacing a truck this year. It's got it's got 110,000 miles on it. So it's a truck that's it's used every day with the pulling the trailers around the green waste trailers. And then stormwater fund, we have the project Vine Street from Rodeo Lane to Little Cottonwood Creek, and then upgrading one of their excavator, and replacement of an older pickup, and most of these pickups are larger pickups that we're purchasing because they have to have be able to handle a large plow for our snow removal services. So that's solid waste and stormwater. Any questions for those two?
Looks like no questions.
Okay. So then our central garage, we're going to replace our air conditioning recharge machine to the new type of Freon, and then replace two hoists that are inside the facility, or inside our shop, and that's the CIP for the central garage.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Council, any questions?
No, just thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Good job. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for all of the information and for everything you and your team does. And with that, I will say let's take a 30-minute break, and we will be back on track for 3 p.m. with Karen with the court. Does that sound good? Oh, they're ready? Oh. How are we on a break? We haven't taken a real break. Do the courts. Does that sound good? All right, well, let's do the courts. Perfect. Then let's do the courts, and then we will take a break. Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, Karen. Welcome.
Hi, how is everybody today?
We're doing all right. Just happy to be talking to you and want to hear how it's going.
It's going good.
The judge is here. Hello,
sorry.
Judge. Sorry, I can't see you.
I'm just trying to text Jennifer. Jennifer just text me. I'm just trying to text the judge and tell him to come online so that he can be part of this.
Sounds great.
So hold on just a moment, please. Sorry about that.
He's logged on and went for a walk.
Yeah, he's logged on, but I think he's with somebody right now.
Oh, okay.
So I have him doing 2 duties today. So
that's how we do it.
But while we're waiting for him to come on, do you have any questions for me about the about our budget?
Let's see. What page are we on? We're on.
I'm showing it's page 20.
Oh, look, everybody else over here was already there. They're all. There we go. Get there. Okay. Did anyone have any questions outright when they looked through it?
I'm just curious, how is the facility doing?
The building itself,
Yes.
the building's doing fine.
Is it still a
We
challenge?
have Jeff. Martin comes over and does stuff for us, and that's been really nice to have him do that. In the past, it's when Mike was the court administrator, he would just hire people, and now we just have, I call Jeff and say this is broken, and he can either fix it or he has somebody else come do it. So it's been very nice to utilize that because he knows all the people, and if he can't do it, then it gets done one way or another. So we put a lot of stuff into the building before Mike left. We repainted it, recarpeted it, reupholstered our courtroom benches and our chairs for the jurors and everybody else. So we did a lot of other work before COVID hit. And as you know, we closed upstairs. So we had a lot of stuff that was up there that we could bring down and utilize. And we slowly, I think in 2019, replaced lights because they were going out. And so right now we're doing good. It's always a leak. That's the running joke, is it's a leak in progress. But it seems that we get floods. How we're a flat building above ground and we get floods, I have absolutely no idea, but we do. So
So
But
Karen,
so
are you, when can people join the courtroom?
we are not having in-person hearings yet. The Supreme Court said through July 30th, and I haven't received any notice saying that it's going to be sooner. So we're
Video on too.
Oh, I don't know. That's the video.
Okay, well, when that is open, I know a lot of us council members would love to come and take a tour.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
and that
we
would be great. That would be really good. So
thanks.
we want to get back to normal too. Whatever that normal is.
Right.
We all do. Absolutely.
Yeah. So as you can see on my budget, I just put into place things that we didn't have because we weren't going to training. And right now we're still not going to training. With WebEx and Zoom, a lot of the training that we can do is online, which, I mean, all of my employees love it. They would rather sit in the break room, do training online than have to go all the way downtown for training. So I just kind of left it where we were in 2019 because I don't really know what's going to happen right now. So right now we're just playing it by ear, and, these things, they're not more, but we might not use some of them either. So.
Well, sounds good. I don't think we have any concerns or questions as far as your budget goes. I do feel bad not saying hi to the judge, but
Oh,
It's on now.
I
isn't
can
he
it?
is.
hear.
There he
You
is.
just
There he
can't- The camera is not working for some reason. So.
Well, dang it. Is there anything you want to share with us?
No, appreciate your support and help. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much. And we will finish up your section so you can go about your day if you like.
Okay.
And we will take a break. Why don't we take a break until 3? And then if Kim's not ready, then we can always sneak in Brenda. Does that sound good? All right, let's break until
Thanks,
3.
Karen.
and
Thanks,
we'll be
Judge.
back then.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
See ya. Thanks, Judge.
The video wouldn't go on. So, let's use a different camera.
Maybe because you're already
Because I'm over here. Oh, on the web.
Somebody said she was. Rob's monitoring. I'm not happy with Rob at the moment, so I'm not happy with IT right now. No. I'm gonna give him
All right. We are reconvening after a short break. And is Kim ready for library?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today, Kat?
Doing all right. We'd love to hear about the library and how y'all are doing.
Okay. Well, we're doing good overall. And I just thought we should talk about this budget. There's not a whole lot here that probably is very different from what it's been in the past. We are increasing our equipment maintenance to somewhat because we're getting quite a bit of new technology that is going to cost us a little more money to maintain, and so that is reflected in that equipment maintenance line, which is 42,510 if you're following along there. In addition, we are adding some money to our professional services budget, which is the 43,000 is the line item there. And we are doing that for a feasibility study to try to find a site that the new library building can be built on. So we wanted to budget some money for that. Other than that, although we've shifted funds around some in our materials budget, the overall materials budget has stayed the same. And then we still have that $115,000 that we set aside because of our very old furnaces and air conditioners that could die on us at any time. So we know that they are old and will need to be replaced, and we're just replacing them as we go along. And then the other, we have added $150,000 to do a little bit of retrofitting here inside the library to try to find ways to separate staff and build partitions so that they're safer and not so close together. So those are really the main changes to the budget. And do you have any questions about any of those things?
No questions about any of those numbers. Looks good. Could you tell us a little bit about the library opening up and what you all are doing right now?
Yeah, so what we're doing currently is we're limiting capacity by making sure that people that come into the library either can make a reservation or make an appointment when they walk in the door, or else before they've come in, they have an appointment. And we're allowing people to use computers for 30 minutes. And then we are also, we have a little area called Browse and Borrow that we are, it's a lot of displays, so lots of new materials and appealing materials that are on display for people to choose from. People can also still use our curbside service, our hold pickup service, place holds and then pick up their things curbside. And we have the new drive-through window that they can use to pick up their materials, which has been very popular. Other than that, we are looking to the future, and we are anticipating in the next few weeks, we're hoping for June 1st to actually let people come in and into the stacks. At that point, we will have some of our most vulnerable staff fully vaccinated, people that have to be out in the stacks for the majority of their job. And so at that point, we'll be able to allow people, we'll still keep it at a reservation system so that we can, again, kind of make sure that don't have too many people in the building, but with the reservation system. And that doesn't mean that they have to pre-register. They can actually walk in, and if there's room, we can let them in. So that's our plans at the moment. And then also starting on June 1st, we'll be doing some programming. Our very popular story times will be back in person, and we'll be doing those at the gazebo at the park. And those will be on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for June and July.
That's really exciting. Especially,
it is exciting.
The park
We're
story
very
time
happy to
sounds
to
so
see
nice.
that things are going, getting a little bit more back to normal.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing all that with us.
Let's,
Diane?
oh,
Sure.
go ahead, Dan. I'll just say it real quick. All I was going to say is my kids are all grown up, and I think they have that philosophy in our home: browse and borrow. So that's awesome.
Do they just borrow, or do they never bring it back to you?
Yeah,
That's the
I
real
think I need to have a
question.
sign that says no browse and borrowing. Yeah, because I don't get it back. So.
Yep, it's good to see you, Kim. I'm glad everything's going
Right.
well. I miss being able to come in, but soon.
Soon, yes.
All right, you take care and thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks.
All right. Well, then we will move on. Is Rob able to join us now?
I am.
Hi, Rob.
Hey, how's everybody? Oops. What
Hi,
happened to
Rob.
my video?
Good. Welcome. We'd
Hi,
love to
Rob.
hear how you're doing.
I'm good, thank you. How's everybody else?
Great.
Good.
Doing all right.
Oh, there
There we
you
go.
are.
There he
Good.
is.
There I am.
We couldn't find the IT guy.
IT guy, we can't even start the video. Oh boy. I was wondering if you guys, are you already at page 10 on the budget? Yep, you're already there. So I guess we'll start from the beginning and look at some of the additional funds that we're adding for the small equipment. We're adding a little bit more money for this year because we didn't purchase the additional computer replacements this last budget year. And so we're adding those funds to.
Sorry, just a sec. We're kind of catching up, getting to the right page.
35.
Oh, okay.
35.
All right.
There we go.
There.
We're getting there.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
So on, like I had indicated on the small equipment, which is further down, if you look in the operations, we're asking for just probably about $26,000 more to get caught up with the computer replacements that we didn't do last year, and also to the additional funds will help with costs because the cost of PC replacements has gone up because it's being shipped in. A lot of our parts come in from China, and so that has gone up in costs. And so we have an increase there. Looking at equipment maintenance, that's pretty static, and we kept that the same. In professional services, we had to increase that a little bit because costs have gone up for some of our the services that we have rendered that they do for us, and so we increased that $5,000. And then on the internet telephone, you can see there's quite a jump of about 35%, and that's due in part because of criminal justice information systems requirements. That when we switched over from technically kind of like the old analog lines to internet phone lines connections to the outside, it was required that we have to encrypt them, and then we also had to go to an isolated network in order for that to happen. And so in order to switch over to that increase, we had to absorb the cost on that. So that's why that's there. And I think, let's see, that so far is all I have. Does anybody have any questions so far for the IT side?
Doesn't look like we have any questions.
Great. Going over to the GIS fund, there's really not too much that we're adding. As far as the GIS, as you can see, we've only increased it on, I think, maybe like a couple of things, like maybe a couple percentages, 12% for the equipment maintenance. We went from 1,250 to 1,400, so that's really not too much. And then on the software maintenance, you can see that we increased that 5,000. That's because we're trying to switch that to the beginning of the fiscal year, the renewal. And so we're adding a little bit more money to take us to further out so that the following year, the costs will be at the very beginning of the renewal instead of at the end of the year. And so we're adding an extra month of cost on that. And that's really all I have for the GIS so far.
Any questions? Nope, no questions here.
Okay, so on page 10 for the CIP, wow, that you guys got there fast this time. You can see some costs there. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay, well, so you can see some costs there. I have the additional sand storage space. Talking with Brenda, we'll put this on for this year, and then she thinks we'll probably have to just move that to small equipment. And I believe that's what she had discussed, or we had discussed. So eventually, we won't see that all the way across all those years. We found that when we switched over the utility billing system from the old system to this new system, there's just been an explosion of data that's being added to our SAN systems. And so we just need to probably annually add additional space every year from now on. Some of the other lists here, the RVI migration, Naviline, that's just all the stuff that used to be on our old AS400 system that we need to get off and migrate over to our new system and have it stored, over there. But it's going to cost us money to have that migrated over for some consulting and costs for adding the server. So that's what that is. The utility network, that shouldn't have been number 4. We've decided to probably push that back to 2023, maybe even 2024. So that should really be, down at the bottom, probably number 9 instead. And then number 4 should probably be the Spillman server. So when we switched over to Versaterm, we have all of this legacy data that's stored over at VEC. We just like to get that back over here and keep it here and not have to pay the annual cost of keeping the data over at VEC. And so that's what that $25,000 is for, is just to move the data back to us. And so that way we don't incur annual costs for storage of legacy data. And then some other ones are just some projects that are small projects, but they're not priorities. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Nope, no questions.
No questions? Okay. And then last, some of the older ones is as you can see, it goes to 2024. We want to just start replacing the Wi-Fi, some of the hardware that's out there in the park because it's over 5 years old, and we just want to make sure that if we put in newer equipment to keep up with the demands for Wi-Fi in the park. And that's really all I have so far. Does anybody see anything that really kind of sticks out and has any questions about?
No, I don't claim to know a lot about IT, but I love the idea that you're bringing that back over here so that we're in control of that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're talking about the Spillman server.
I am.
Yes. I think it's a good idea that we have it, that way. I think it's pretty expensive for the maintenance there. I think it's like 30 or 40,000 a year. So we'll spend a little bit of money, but we'll save once we get off, because we won't have to pay for hardware maintenance or to store it over there at VEC. So that's all I have.
All right. Well, unless there's any more questions or comments.
Just
go
a big
ahead, Diane.
thanks for Rob. You do a great job, and we appreciate you helping us. I mean, I'll speak for me and Diane. I'm just kidding, Diane.
That's what I was just about to say. Very good. Took the
Well,
words
thank
right
you.
out of my
Better
mouth.
throw me in on that too.
Thank you, everyone. I'll let all my guys know, because I know they work hard in trying to keep the the video support going and things like that. So thank you so much.
You guys are wonderful.
Have a great
Talk
rest
to
of
you
your
later.
day. Bye.
Bye.
All right. That brings us to Brenda.
Okay, so finance department. I have requested no new personnel in all of our finance area. In the finance department itself, we are on page 27, and let me share this. The only change that I actually made to this, the operations for the finance staff itself, which is Nate, Joanne, payroll, and myself, is to return the travel and learning to a level equal to or slightly under the 2019 budget. I do need to attend a national conference at some point, and I'd like 2 people to attend the UGFOA conference. And this year, there's going to be 2 in fiscal year 22 because they moved the spring conference to the fall, and then they will do it again in the spring, back to its normal schedule. So I get to go to St. George twice. It's not that big of a deal. So that's it for the finance. Everything else stayed the same and is good. The recorder's office, we have the same people, same number of people, and we have our part-time person that does passports. Her salary is basically paid for through passport fees. The expenses, only thing that increased was to return their training back to a normal level. And then we have elections in there. And I budgeted it for $60,000. It was a not to exceed. And I think it was not to exceed $58,000. So we should be okay right there. Usually they don't even come close to their not to exceed. They put a lot of contingency into their budgets just in case. So that should be a good number for our election process. On page 30 is the treasury. That would be the treasurer and the clerk, Phyllis. I'm still kind of refining what they're doing since we removed the meter readers. So you'll see some of their numbers went down. It was just because they weren't using those items and we didn't need them. This one gets 90% allocated to the utility funds because most of the money we collect is actually due to utilities. So that is their budget. And then utility billing. This is Karen and the utility billing staff. The person that we added last year has been very helpful. It has relieved a lot of stress on the phone calls, and we're not getting, now that we've gotten through the change, we're not getting a lot of call wait times. Phones get answered on an appropriate manner, and we have, Karen has time to do stuff that is not answering the phones, so that has been very useful. This budget is 100% allocated to the utility funds, so that's why you see it come to a 0 at the end of each section. It's because it gets allocated out. We actually didn't increase anything but the contract services as we further refine how much it's going to cost us to mail the city bills through the Master's Touch, which is much cheaper than it used to cost us to do it ourselves. But we're still kind of refining how that's going and how much that's going to cost. And that's the only line item that I adjusted on here. And that is it for the finance department. No changes. We're just doing our thing.
I love that. I'm just doing my thing.
Just doing our thing.
Well, you're doing your thing right, so thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do you have any questions or any questions that came up on anything else that you can?
Nope. No questions. I think we're good. Do you have any CIP in finance, Brenda?
We do not. If we ever need anything, we will ask, but we don't have any big items. We do maintain the big copier in here, but we're hoping to keep that running until we get a new building. And then we'll figure out what all the new copiers and all that stuff is going to be. So, but we don't have any CIP. Council has the one CIP for the vehicles, alternative fuel source vehicles, and that's about it. In general, that most of the departments in City Hall do not have CIP.
You don't need a giant truck for the work you do.
I don't need a giant truck.
Okay. Just want to make sure you have what you need, Brenda.
When I first got here, we did have access to a car, but we got rid of that just because the one time we used it, it broke down. So.
All right, then. No trucks for you. Got it.
So it was just an old police car that had been refurbished, I don't know how many times.
That's so funny.
we just pay somebody 50 cents a mile to drive somewhere if they happen to have to.
Sounds good.
Makes me
All
laugh
right.
though, because I don't know how many times you've come in the back door of City Hall here and see IT's car with the battery charger on it.
Honestly, that's what I was thinking. The IT car. It was a big. Wasn't that also a big police car? It was a big car. I don't know what it is, but LTD or whatever it was. But
Well, if there aren't any questions from the council, then we will adjourn for today. Good
Thank
work,
you.
everybody.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.